But now there's been this kind of shift to reconceive the category of women as an identity rather than a material fact about your sex. And there's been a series of different sort of theoretical moves, right? So this idea that feminism has to be intersectional, which means it has to be for everybody and about everything. So really, my diagnosis of what's happened to feminism is that it's become global justice. It is a global justice movement about everyone and for every possible cause, and that's totally fine. We do need justice, right? Like, it's not like we're anti-justice. We just want like to bite off manageable chunks of that project for ourselves, and we don't think there's anything wrong with biting off the chunk that's to do with female people and their situation right now and the legacy of oppression coming out of our very sexist last several thousand years. So that's gender critical feminism.
How would you best say there should be discussions between international sporting bodies and and various feminist movements? For example, the International Olympic Committee, they're leaving it up to individual sports to decide their own policies in regards to transgender representation in their own sport.
I actually would maybe say that there shouldn't, and that might sound a bit heretical, but there's been such an ideological takeover of feminism that's going to need such a huge effort in turning things around. Like, gender critical feminism is new, and it is small, and it is massively vilified. So the chances are, if you tried to get feminist organization representation to sporting bodies, you would get some, I don't want to be pejorative, but you would just get some some group that really absolutely fails to represent female interests, that probably says trans women are women and should be able to compete according to their identity, right? And so they would absolutely not be representing the interests of female people as a sex class. So I think actually the better thing to do would be to just encourage the kind of approach that FINA took, right? Which didn't involve talking to any women's organizations or feminists specifically. They talked to athletes, they talked to scientists, right, that knew something about the physiology of sport and endocrinology, and they talked to human rights and law experts. And I think when you talk to those kinds of groups about what's actually like, what are you trying to achieve in sport? How have women been excluded from sport in the past, which the human rights and law people will know? And you talk to the scientists about what male puberty does to the male body and what the average differences are between male and female bodies, you're not going to end up with sex denialism or inclusion as the paramount value over everything else, right? So I sort of think, yeah, actually, it's not that women's organizations need a voice. Almost the problem would be giving them a voice because of their sort of ideological capture at the moment. So it might sound like a bit of an anti-feminist thing to say, but it's feminist from a position of having a specific diagnosis of what's happened to mainstream feminism at the moment, and just thinking like it's mostly not actually representing women's interests anymore.